In this video, I'm going to demonstrate using an if function, and I'm going to use the Talent Tracks workbook from tutorial 7. And I want to start out by taking a look at this PowerPoint slide, and this is kind of a review of some of the things that I talked about in class on Tuesday morning. So you can think of a logical function as a decision-making tool, and here we have a flow chart that represents a decision. So essentially what we're asking Excel to do is to look at a cell and make a decision about the contents of that cell, evaluate the contents and to see if they are true or false based on the criteria that we specify in the logical test, and then if it's true, do one thing, and if it's false, do a different thing. So here we see a diagram of what we're going to be doing in the actual worksheet. We're going to create a column where we test the condition, does add life insurance equal Y? And if that is true, you're going to take the annual salary times the premium rate to determine that person's insurance premium. If it's false, the insurance premium is then 0 because they have not enrolled in the insurance program. So let's go ahead and go over to the worksheet. And here we have the employee worksheet or the employee data worksheet, and you'll notice that the information on this worksheet has been placed in a table. So I'm going to add another column to my table, and all I have to do that is simply type in a column header and enter it, and Excel will automatically expand the table. Now notice you have a smart tag here, an autocorrect options button, and if that's not what you wanted to do, you can undo it. You can tell it to stop doing that, and there are some other items you can do here. But what I want to do right now is in cell N2, I want to go ahead and insert my if function. So I'm going to go to the Insert Function button on the formula bar, and you can see that the Insert Function dialog box opens up, and I'm going to look for the if function, and because I recently used it, mine is on top, so I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And that opens up the dialog box for the if function. So the first argument, each part of the function, if you'll recall from 169, each part of the function is called an argument. And my first argument is the logical test. So for this logical test, I want to look at column H, the add life insurance column, and evaluate whether or not the cells in that column say yes, Y, or no, N. So my logical test is going to be H2, which is the first cell in that column, equal Y, and remember you need to put the Y in quotes. Now when you do use the dialog boxes, Excel will put things like quotes in for you, but I think it's just a good idea to get in that habit because sometimes you don't use the dialog box. So that's my test. Then I need to go on to the value of true, which is the argument where I tell Excel what to do if H2 is equal to Y. So if H2 is equal to Y, then I want to multiply the annual salary, K2, times 0.001, and what that's going to do is calculate the insurance premium. Now if the value of false, in other words, if the cell in column H being evaluated says N, that means the person didn't want life insurance, and so they are not paying a life insurance premium, so I'm just going to enter as 0. So now I'm done with my function, and I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And another nice thing about using a table is that if I enter a formula in the beginning of the column here, it's going to automatically fill that formula to the rest of the column for me. So as you can see, as I'm scrolling down, it filled in all of the cells all the way down to the bottom of column N. Again, you have the autocorrect options button there if you need to undo that or you need to change anything. Now, one thing I like to encourage you to do is once you've entered your function, to look and see if it's doing what it's supposed to do. So based on what we entered in that dialog box is if this column, if the cell in this column H says Y, I should get an insurance premium calculated based on the person's annual salary. So that's happening. I also, if the person has elected not to add a life insurance, if H is N, there shouldn't be anything in here but a 0. So I'm just checking to see if my function did what it was supposed to do. So the last thing I want to do here is format these numbers, and they represent money. It's a deduction from the person's salary. So I'm going to go ahead and select that column, and because I have this in a table, if I take my mouse pointer and just move it down into the first cell in that column until I get that downward pointing black arrow and click, it selects the whole column for me. I don't have to click and drag. And I'm just going to apply the accounting number format. And so then my numbers are changed to currency, which helps make the worksheet more readable. And I have finished with my if function.